So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to BoatLife Live. And we're kicking off next with Duncan Wells. You're going to tell us a little bit about stress-free sailing. Lovely to have you on the show. Thank you.
Thank you very much, yes. Oh, lovely. Stress-free sailing. I wrote the book in 2014, it was published in 2015, and it has been very popular, actually. One of the benefits of stress-free sailing is not just that it deals with groundbreaking ideas and teaches people about bits and pieces about sailing, but particularly how to get off the dock without hitting everything in sight, and how to get back on the dock without hitting everything in sight, and managed by one person from the cockpit of the boat. So if you could do that, the minute you add in some extra crew, you've got extra assistance, and that is terrific.
Always a good start. Now, Duncan, let's just have a show of hands. Let's see any boat owners out there. Hands up. Yeah, so we've got plenty of people who know what that feels like. And how many potential boat owners? There we go. So you'll learn a lot.
Have we got a book for you? Have we? We probably have.
Right. Next slide.
Yeah, no, that's right. Anyway, yes, our next slide, certainly. A very popular book, and then we went on and we sold, we put a second edition out with enough things to update it. But the key thing about this book is it's not just photographs, diagrams. It's got your idea, your diagram, your photograph, and then we have a video, because you can't tricks a video. When I've been out doing stuff on Yachting Monthly, writing articles and that, I remember one day we were to do an article on spinnakers and cruising chutes, and there was no wind, none. So we put it up, just hang limply. Right, so how do you get over that with a photographer? Well, I'll tell you what you do. You put the boat into a stern under engine, and you drive backwards. That way you fill that spinnaker. Don't take the photograph of the point where the bow cuts the water, because you no longer have a bow wave, you have a wake. So as long as you don't do that, you've got a shot. So you can tricks a photograph, but you can't tricks a video. It's got to be, well, you could, but I don't run to computer generation graphics and all that sort of stuff. So there we are. That was stress-free sailing. And I forgot one. That's right. One of the key things, and this is what I'm going to tell you now, is a lifesaver. This is the photographs of a technique called coming alongside using a stern bridle. One of the big things that people worry about when they are getting their boat, how am I going to get alongside? So you get alongside and you get the smallest person to jump, and you've maybe got to within 5 feet of the dock, and you say to them, jump! What? No, now! And suddenly they're at huge risk of hurting themselves. And it's a very dangerous thing to do. And a lot of people seem to think that the only way you can moor a boat is if you're standing on the shore holding onto the line. That's not right. Stand on the boat yourself, put a technique together to secure yourself to something on the shore, and then when the boat is secured to the shore, holding against whatever it is, a bridle in this case, driving against that, then you step off and you can set your mooring lines. And that's the safe way to do it. So here we have, this is the photograph section. There he is coming in. He's prepared 2 loops for his lasso. And remember, if you can lasso in the boating business, then you're in business. The most important thing to learn is how to lasso. Short coils throw high and wide. And this is what we're going to end up with. This is a stern bridle. We have a bridle coming from a midship point, here a cleat down to the shore and back up, and that boat is driving ahead against it. No one is holding that boat because I'm taking the photograph. And so we'll come up, we'll throw that on, we'll then take up the slack. Don't do anything in a panic, because the minute you do that, whang, it comes off the cleat and everything, and you end up like that. But a photograph is not good enough, so we have to have a video. This is it. That's what we're going to end up with. And then here we come. Now, I admit there isn't much wind and there isn't much tide, but there's no point trying these things out in a hoolie and a wacky great tide. Try it out wet Wednesday afternoon when few people will be there. There were the 2 coils. I grabbed them. I've stopped the boat. We're not using these cleats to take way off the boat. Put that onto the dock. Take the slack out of it. And gently, so it doesn't flip off the cleat. And once I've done that, I'll just take a couple of turns around the winch, put the line through the self-tailer, click the engine into astern, and with my boat, the engine, the gearbox goes clunk, clunk. Everybody from miles around knows what I'm up to. And then the boat will come into the dock, adjust the helm a little, just to make sure she's staying on nicely. And if there was a lot of wind blowing her off, I'd have more revs. If there was a lot of tide, we'd have more revs, and we could do that. I'll tie another couple of turns, take another couple of turns around the winch.
Yeah, I noticed that the other thing is you're not looking to get a load of turns on the cleat on the shore. You can do that later. It's
No, I don't want any turns. It's got to move. It's just holding, it's lassoed and holding around it. Very good point. Now, here we are. This is more serious. This is Cherbourg. There's a good... Oh, no, this isn't. This is Universal Marina. That is a massive miss. Even you wouldn't get a small person to jump that. And there I missed it, but I flip it on. And the point I'm making here is that this is a robust technique. A lot of people come on saying, I use a midship spring. Well, if you do, when you miss getting it on, it's swinging forwards and you've got trouble. But with a bridle, you're in business. And there we are. Now, there we are going to move now to Cherbourg. It comes alongside. I'll just take that off and then step out. Now, here we are, Cherbourg. There's a good bit of breeze blowing. I miss entirely. Wonderful, exactly what I want to show. But I've got time, and you can see the boat is on the move. To get it on again, step back, not in a panic, but do it smartly. Take the slack up, drive the boat ahead. She comes into the dock, secure your line on the winch, and step off, and then set your mooring lines. And that's how we do that.
Now, Duncan, something I'm seeing from this, where's all the shouting and the panic?
Well, there's one reason why there is no shouting and the panic, because I've got no crew, there's no one to shout at, which is one way of stopping it. But it's most important to not to shout at people, because what happens is you go out and you take the kids and the wife, and at the end of the day, they come back and you shout at them and so forth. You're shouting because you're not confident. I mean, they often are, frankly, rather slow, but you just have to live with that. And don't shout at them, because if you shout at them, they're going, well, I don't want to come sailing with you. And if that's the sort of person you are, you're going to end up as a single-hander. So you might as well start off learning the single-handed techniques before they don't want to come with you anymore. I have been very lucky on occasion. I have had students who said, I want to learn the shore-based course with you, and I want to do the practical. And I've then been able to go, right, we're going to do a bit of theory, and then we're going to go out and do the practical. And you're going to practice all these techniques. And when you're confident with these, then you're going to invite your wife to join you. And then when the two of you are confident, you're going to bring the children in. And that's the way. And then the idea is you won't be shouting at each other too much. Now, that was for sailors. Well, we did exactly the same thing for the motorboaters. Have we got any motorboaters here? Hooray, brilliant, excellent. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said how many. I should have said how many motorboaters have we got here. Well, we do exactly the same for the motorboaters. I mean, I've even had a 23-meter Princess holding off the dock on a stern line, a slipped stern line, just holding against the cleat on the dock. And we took this boat that normally at full chat, she consumes 500 pounds worth of fuel an hour. And we took her from Swanwick to Yarmouth, stopped in Yarmouth for tea, and came back on the flood tide. And we went at tick-over speed, and we used 47 pounds worth of diesel because we were able to use the tide. And she runs at 6 knots on tick-over. I mean, don't do that forever. You'll glaze the cylinders and all sorts. But it was
Duncan,
a good trip.
before we move on to the next place, just give us a very, very brief background of your introduction into sailing. Did you grow up sailing? Did you come to it late? Where did you start?
I've done it on and off all my life, one way or another, through dinghies. My mother's family come from the Channel Islands, so there was sailing and stuff when we were over there. I've done a bit of dinghy sailing on the Thames, and then I did started crewing with Admiral's Cup racers and all that sort of stuff, and hooligans, and broaching in the middle of the night is no fun. And you do that once, and they do it a second time. Oh, for God's sakes. Anyway, it wasn't my cup of tea at all, but I've done quite a bit of that sort of stuff. And then I bought a motorboat, and then I bought a sailing boat, and I did all my qualifications and so forth.
But Duncan, you must have been through a scenario where you've been shouted at by some stressy helm in order for you to know that that is not the way to go forward. And you've developed your stress-free sailing?
Well, actually, I have to say I've never been shouted out by some stressy skipper. He would have been thrown in the drink and he wouldn't be alive. I won't stand for anything like that. But I have witnessed it. I'm going past and it's like, oh, poor crew out there, get off, don't do that, don't do that. So I've witnessed it. And I suppose in a sense, myself, I've also been perhaps not very confident in the situation. And you know, it's darling this and darling, you know, suddenly it's a bit more panicking and you try to keep that out of it. But yeah, I just found my niche. I was sailing on my own, not because my family don't really like doing anything with me, actually, that's true, but not because they had any issue with the sailing. My younger daughter comes with me quite often, but just because I go sailing when I want to go sailing. Want to go sailing now? Forget this, we're going. And that doesn't work when you're working with a family and commitment. And so I'd be out there, and so I'd have to get my 35-foot, 8-ton boat off the dock in whatever conditions. So I stood there and went, how am I going to do that? And I worked it out.
And you're someone who breaks things down, you see it logically. You've obviously got lots and lots of methods. I've had a little look through your books and things, and you definitely have some really clear, concise methods.
Well, I do, and I do break things down. I mean, you know, I'm not that smart, I'm not that clever, but I'm desperate mostly. I've got to get off. I can't let go of the boat from the dock, because if I do that, she's gone. So I've got to get a technique for getting off, and I use things like bow bridles or slipped springs or all sorts of things. And the same stuff you can use on a motorboat. You know, you've probably got stern and bow and stern thrusters, an extra thing, 2 engines anyway to help you.
Now, you haven't stopped there, not just the motorboating, you've moved into other areas like navigation.
Stress-free navigation. You can go from naught to your officer of the watch with that one. It's not RYA based, it's just general based. It's all around the world. You'll have a chart from Sydney, you'll have a chart from America, all sorts. But people love that book. It's a good book. Again, it's got videos, shows you how to do all the stuff.
Now, if you were here earlier, we were chatting to a group of very inspirational sailors that have basically decided they want to go sailing. They bought a boat, and they're really learning from books. And I'm going to suggest that they really hook into your range.
Yep, no, that's great. That's great. Or they can go and do the RYA stuff, which we of course do, and I'm going to get onto that in a moment, if that's all right. Shall I move on to the next bit, which is this is the fun thing. I spent a long time standing on the deck of my Halbo Grassi 352, 1 meter from the water, looking down, thinking, if I had a man in the water floating there in his life jacket, but he wasn't able to help himself, every time I passed in the line, his cold fingers didn't work, he couldn't attach it, how would I get him from there back onto the boat? I couldn't get him, I can't reach down. So I thought to myself, well, rather than go down to him, let's get him to come up to us. And I created MOB Lifesavers. At its simplest, it's just a very high technology type of line that goes inside your life jacket, attaches to the lifting bucket, and when the life jacket opens, the line is either there on the jacket or available to come out floating on the water. You grab that with a boat hook, and as you can see, I'm sure we've got one here, have we? Yeah, there you go. This is the Ionian. That's quite nice. I go in all over the place. You know, it's usually a dry suit job when it's the Solent, whatever. But I wouldn't ask anyone to do anything I won't do. That's me, and that's my elder daughter. And you can see she's grabbed the lifesaver, and now she's got me, and she can put that on a cleat, and then she can stick a halyard with a carabiner on the end of that and get me out. And that's how we do it. This is how we get them out. We use a special tackle which is made by Harken for me, only for me. I designed it, I took their technology and we developed it into a special tackle. It's got a ratcheted block at the top. And it means that a light person can hold the weight of the casualty between finger and thumb. So they could actually tie it off onto something if they wanted to have a rest. And it makes a huge difference getting them back on board. And that's how we do it. We do them horizontally when we're bringing them out, just because it's much more comfortable that way. But we don't have to have that orange sling in under the knees. You can just bring him straight up. Shall I run the video? Because we've got a little video on this with a voice and all that, and I'll be quiet.
MOB Lifesavers, improved man overboard retrieval for life jackets. The life jacket goes off. The lifesaver is there on top of the jacket, ready to be grabbed. Or you may prefer to have your lifesaver coiled loose in the jacket so that it floats out onto the water. Either way, you can grab the lifesaver with the boat hook. With the man attached to the boat, you can now set up your retrieval system. We use a 6-part ratcheted block tackle which we developed with Harkin, which allows a small person to lift a large person out. The ratcheted block at the top means they can hold the weight on the hauling line between finger and thumb, and that makes it much easier. And now, Emily gets Tim back on board. And there he is, rescued. With a lifesaver, the casualty has their means of retrieval back on board stowed within their own life jacket. We don't go down to him, he comes up to us. Lifesavers approved for inclusion in all brand new models of Crusader, Baltic, Spinlock, Sea Safe and Ocean Safety life jackets.
Now I'll do the sales pitch here. Is it available at the show?
I don't think so.
And if not, where could they find
You go
one?
to moblifesavers.com. Or you come and see me.
I knew you'd be thinking that, folks. So,
a really nice thing happened recently. A lady called Rachel Sprott, who used to be involved with Rubicon 3, they run big 72-foot challenge-style boats to the high latitudes. And she wrote an article for Yachting Monthly about man overboard retrieval and covered all the pieces of kit. And at the end of the article, it said quite simply, well, if you need to get the man attached to the boat, and you do, to get him back on board, the best and the simplest thing to do is to put a lifesaver in his jacket. It doesn't cost a lot of money. You could even make them yourself. Although, she said, why don't I go and see MOB Lifesavers, because they'll do them for you. That's been a fantastic help with us in our promotion. Those, our lifesavers are in all the Ellen MacArthur life jackets, Ocean, Youth Trust, challenge boats, all sorts, and loads of sailors. We're sold in Europe. Nightmare getting them into Europe, of course. Germany, the Benelux countries, Sweden and so forth, Australia, American. So we are sold and we're getting there. But if you develop a safety product, you've got to be prepared to just get it going slowly. People don't go, oh, I've got to have one of those. They go, oh, and then eventually they go, oh.
Well, it certainly looks something that if I was sailing with just one other person and I was worried about if they ever went in and if they were knocked out, how would I get them back in?
Absolutely.
That certainly gives peace of mind. So anyone who's looking to go sailing with a short crew or at all, just I think
they need a lifesaver in their life jacket, that's for sure. I'm rather foolishly, I normally bring a life jacket and wear it and put it on, and I say to everyone I walk around the show, I said, hasn't anybody told you that there's going to be a very high tide tonight? And then at the talk, I will then bang one off, and then you can see it happening. But you saw it happening well enough on the slides there. I'm going to do a couple of knots in a minute at the end, is that all right? But before we go to the end, should we go to the next slide, which is the other part of, this is, if you like, a little bit about me and a little bit of something for you and a little bit of promotion. So that's the idea of all this. There we are. I have a sailing company called Westview Sailing. We don't do any of the practical courses anymore. I send you off to to 2 schools that I really recommend. One is Premier Sailing, and they're here today on stand 850 to promote them, and they are an excellent practical school, an excellent school all round, Collins Tracy, and they're on the East Coast. And if you want to do it on the Solent, then go and see Charlie Tullock at First Class Sailing, and they're a good show as well. But we took our shore-based courses, we put them online. We're now an accredited RYA distance learning course, and I say to people, we take the distance out of distance learning, because so many of the courses, it seems, that are out there, you buy it, they send you the stuff, and you seem to be on your own, more or less. But with us, you're never on your own. Because if we give you have a weekly Zoom, not to teach you the material's online, but just to catch up with the other students and have a chat, and maybe we'll have a discussion about some subject, or somebody's buying a new Bavaria 40. Well, let's talk about, is that a good idea? What's other people's experience? Just so that you're never alone.
Yeah, you've hit it on there. Everybody has different experiences. Everyone's sailing a different boat, different levels, different backgrounds, different harbours, different coastlands. And so that, I guess, is why the bespoke is so important.
Well, it's not, it is bespoke. I'm trying to make it You know, the ideal is that you don't know your customers at all. There are so many of them. Of course, I know my customers by name, address, and shoe size. You know, we're all very familiar. But you build that, and you're giving them support and confidence. And we've got people coming in from Mexico now, Germany, Australia, Sweden, all over the shop, to do our day skipper and the Yachtmaster shore-based course. I hope, and I know the RYA man said to me, he said, if I was setting up a distance learning course, this is the way I would like to see it go. And so I think we're going to be, it's going to go well. We've got plenty of instructors in the background ready to help and come and...
Now, Duncan, I'd like to ask the audience, is there, I'm sure a lot of you have been and done courses with the RYA. How many people have done RYA courses here? Yeah, lots and lots. How many people would consider doing an online course, or has anyone done an online course? Yeah, so it's the new, I mean, my daughter's going to university online pretty much. It's the way it is. So the whole online thing is quite a new revolution. It sounds like you're, and it's certainly one to be considered.
It is, and I put together a series of tutorial videos for my classroom students so that they could have access to me when we weren't in class. And then we monetized those, and people started buying into those. And then we discovered that quite a lot of people who were doing online courses were buying the videos to back up what they were doing online as well. So that was really one of the reasons we moved into the online world.
Now, before you get the doves and the magic hat, and we saw someone in half, can you tell me, we saw you coming alongside and lassoing. Just explain some stress-free for leaving the dock.
Oh, the stress-free, well, all sorts of stress-free. If you're stern to, just put a slipped line from a stern cleat to the shore cleat and back to the stern cleat and drive the boat ahead. Now the boat's holding to the dock. And now you can release your bow line, stern line, and your springs. And then you get on, you just put the boat into neutral, undo the OXO of the thing, release the slip line and drive up.
And it's all about having control from the boat, because you don't want to be jumping on the boat last thing.
No.
So the slip line goes round the cleat and back to you.
To the boat, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's called a slipped line. You'll hear somebody say, oh, could you double up the lines to the crew? Do you want to double up the lines? Double up the lines or single up the lines. These are big ship expressions. You know, an oil tanker will come in and there's a lot of wind blowing it off the dock, and he might say to the crew, I want you to double up the lines. So I want 2 bow lines, 2 breast lines, 2 sets of springs, 2 breasts of stern, and that's what he means by that. And then when he says before he goes, single up the line, go back to the single, or you might single up to springs only, he might call for. But when your skipper asks you to double up or single up or whatever they tend to do, what he really means is single the line. So from the shore back to, from the boat to the shore, around something back to the cleat and secure there. And we got techniques, you know, I've talked this for years and years, and people say, oh, it's all very well for you, mate, but I haven't got any cleats, I've only got rings. Okay, well, we got techniques for that. You put a line on the end of a boat hook with a carabiner on it, and you can grab that and you use a spring to come on. And all of these are in the stress-free sailing books, and there are videos showing you how to use all of those things. The other one, if you bow to, you'd use a bow bridle, a line from the cockpit to the bow, to the shore, back amidships to the cockpit, drive astern on that, remove all your gear, and now, leaving the engine in astern, just take it off the cleat and haul in the inboard end. The thing will go around and come out, and you're heading out backwards.
So very much using the engine to keep the tension on the lines, to keep the boat in the place you want to be.
Yep.
Really
Absolutely
good.
Right, yeah.
Very cunning.
Yeah, well, you see, if you're on your own, you've got to think about it, because otherwise it's expensive.
Now, where do knots come in? You don't want a knot in your line when you're leaving, but...
No. Make sure all your lines don't have any. No lots in your lines and no loops at the shore end, always the free end of the shore. And don't pull things too fast, because free ends can flip around and then catch on something.
But knots can be your friend, and I think you're going to show us something now.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to show you today, but the best knot, the main knot you're going to use all the time on a boat is a bowline. And if you know how to tie a 6, you know how to draw a 6, you know how to tie a bowline. You draw a 6, and then you take the rabbit up through the hole, around the top of the 6 and back down the hole and tighten. You've done. I'm not going to show you that because that's one you're going to learn.
I think we need to volunteer.
Yeah, now what we're going to do now.
Or 2 volunteers.
I went off to try and find a pole just now. Normally people have a broom. No pole, no broom around. So I went along and I found a man who said, look, tell you what, have one of my boat hooks. Now, he comes from Pirates Chandlery down there. I've got brochures. There's a 15% discount. Well, I said I'll promote you for being a, you know, smart thinking and generous chap. And I am. And there you are. And there's a little bag as well that goes with that.
Do we need another person up on the stage?
Well, actually, why don't we have two? You can commentate on our skills.
And if we stay behind the speakers, we'll stop the feedback.
Yeah.
So
could we be joined on stage by two people? I'd like to have two ladies. Would you like to be one?
okay.
I'd like another lady.
And what about-
We'll stick with the ladies. Do you want to come up and join us? You're in the front. No. Would you like? No. How about? All right, a bloke. Can I have? We need one other person to come on stage.
Well done,
thank
Adam.
you. Well done.
So this is one of our BoatLife
hold that.
ambassadors.
There you are. You just hold that end tight. Now, if we are tying a line that we want in a hurry, okay, we'll need to get rid of it in a hurry. You might say, oh, well, I'll tie a clove hitch, all right?
Laura, you need a picture of this.
All right? Now, there's a clove hitch. You can see the clove hitch there. And this is where you've got your emergency fender, so that if you're about to hit something else, you want to get your emergency fender quick. And the skipper's made a mess of it. He says, quick with the emergency fender. You go, what? Oh, hang on. Oh, too late. Bang. That was no good, was it? So we'll need a knot that doesn't go round what we're attaching it to, okay? So we're going to use the rustler's hitch. This is the standing end, this is the running end. This is important when it comes to knots, standing and running. And we take a bite, that's a loop, underneath there, pull on the standing end, tighten with the running end, and now pull the running end through and tighten with the standing end. And now, our emergency fender isn't going anywhere. There's a story that goes with this. We've decided to go and rob a bank today. But parking in town is terrible. So we're not going to go by car, we're going to go by horse. And we want to tie Dobbin up outside the bank to the rail so he can't get away, but in such a way that when we come screaming out with the loot, we can whack and go. And so we'll use this knot, because now, hold the line tight, would you? It's come out. Did you see that? I'll use a different one to show this. That's quite a big bit of rope. Let's try another one to show you these things. See it again? Standing end, running end, bite, standing end through, tighten on, running end through, tighten on. Standing ends won't go anywhere. And I've had a fender bouncing off the side of my boat all the way across the channel. 19 hours it stayed like that, didn't fall off, and at the end I was able to go like that and get it back. Did you like that knot? Do you think you could do it? You can if I talk you through it, can't you? All right, come in front of there, and I'll take this end of the thing, and all right, there you are. Now, there's your bite, okay? Standing end, running end. Put your standing end through there, right, and put your fingers to my side, and then tighten, pull that one there, this one. That's it, that's it, pull that tight. Now, take a bite of that and put that through there, and tighten on your standing end, okay? Let that one go.
So you've robbed your bank.
Now you see you can't get him. Now pull that thing tight. No, pull this. No, pull this one. That's going to release the knot. Let go of that. That's it. Pull. And you've done it.
And off you go.
We'll do one more time just to show you. Shall we show you? Ready? Standing end, running end. Now put the standing end through that loop and then gather him from there. That's it. And pull that one. That's it. Now put that one through there. Okay, and pull it on that one. Okay, now let go of that end and just pull that to show the audience that it's not going anywhere. Now let that go and then pull on this one. Wait, 1, 2, 3, sharp tug. Done. There you are.
Now that is a useful knot.
Well done. That's my favourite knot. And that was Pirates Chandlery, fabulous boat hook.
Now, Duncan, have we got any questions from... Thank you very much to our volunteers.
Yes, thank you. Well done.
Have you decided what bank you're going to rob? Have we got any questions?
I've never sailed before in my life. I've just signed up to do the clipper around the world yacht. What would you recommend to me to stay stress-free for those months and things?
So did everyone hear that? He's signed up to do the clipper round the world race, and he wants some stress-free advice to stay safe.
The only stress-free advice that I can give you is listen to them when they do the training with you and follow absolutely everything they give you on that training, because they know what they're doing. But you're going into a very dangerous bunch of seas, but as far as they can, they will do their training as safely as possible. I can't think of anything else that is practical. you're not going to have a problem getting off the dock. There are 12 of you, or is it 14 on the boat? 20? Okay, fine. So you've got 10 crew on at one time. Yeah, clip on the whole time. Make sure that you have a lifeline that is a 3-ended lifeline. One with you and goes out 2 ways. So that you're clipped on, and then if you want to clip on something else or move, you clip that one on before releasing the other. There have been issues with 2-ended lines, removing one, and then over they went before it got on. And I'm sure they've got 3-ended ones these days. But it's follow their advice.
Yeah, and my advice would be always stay clipped on. Having been to the Southern Ocean myself, definitely, if you're over the side, you're in a lot of trouble. So clip on every time. Do we have any other questions?
I've got one more thing to say as well. Make sure you absolutely understand all the safety equipment. There had been an incident in the past when, and this happens as safety equipment develops. A new thing comes on the market. Someone says, oh, I'll take one of those, could be useful. It's not yet been established kit with the clipper people, but you take it and then they say, oh, he's got one of those, all right, jolly good. And then he went over, but he didn't know how to operate it, and he put that thing in test mode. And then he changed it after a while and put it into activation mode, and they found him immediately. But had he put it into activation mode before, at the start, he would have been found very quickly, much quicker than he was. But they did a fantastic job of tracking him. But make sure you know absolutely everything about any electronic, particularly safety equipment you're going to use.
Yeah, I would absolutely second that. And just like when you get onto a plane, they make sure you know where the emergency exits and the lights are. A lot of people, especially for a day sail, jump on a boat, and you need to ask if you're not shown. Could you just say, just please, could you show me where the flares are? Could you show me how to put the engine on? And could you show me where the spare life jackets are? And just run. It doesn't take too long at all, but just courteous say, can I just show me through the safety, show me where the radio is, and you are then setting to sea, knowing that if the unthinkable happens and the person who knows goes over and takes that information and knowledge with them, that you now know where the flares are and things, and I'm sure you'd agree.
Absolutely. Oh, there was that classic case of Chris Evans went out with his landlord who owned a boat, and the landlord in the Solent, and the landlord didn't actually tell people, give them a safety briefing, and the landlord went over and they didn't know what to do. You wouldn't. I've never been on a boat before. Why would I know what to do? It didn't.
Doesn't take long, but it's such a simple thing to do, just every time you get on a boat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions? I'm sure we got a lot.
I'm going to have to come closer to you because
So she said the knot. What's it called?
That's called the Rustler's Hitch. This one, here's a quick one. So we've got 2 minutes. Right, I've mentioned the bowline, didn't I? Okay, well, this is a bowline. All right. It takes me about 7 seconds to tie one. You see, there you are, there's a bowline. You use that for everything. But you could tie it a bit quicker. I haven't done this for a long time. Let's hope I get it right. And if I doesn't, it doesn't matter. Okay, all right, there we go. Right. There you go. And that's,
that's a round of applause there.
Okay.
Well done.
Now, okay, it's not actually a bowline, but it has a knot that the back can break and so forth. But there you are. And somebody said, if you want to loop in a line really quickly, you could do that. And then if you've got a lot of purists around, you go quickly undo it and put it back as a bowline when it's on whatever. But at least you've got to loop in a line quick.
Now, do we have any other questions for Duncan while he's here?
You were talking about it? Yeah. It's wonderful. He's telling everybody. It's brilliant. Brilliant.
Doing knots, especially when there's no wind or you're hanging around waiting to head off, just grab a piece of a rope and play around with some knots. They're always very useful on board. So if we don't have any more questions, I'd like you to put your hands together. Thank you very much, Duncan.
Thank you.
Great chat here. And what a wonderful array of learning materials. So
Thank you.
Get out there and and I'm sure you'll take other questions while you're here at the show.
Yeah, I'll be probably hanging around Premier's stand on 50A or something. And don't forget to go and see good old Pirates Charnery. And there's a 15% thingy, help yourselves.
Duncan, thank you very much. And enjoy BoatLife Live.
Oh, indeed. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Mark.
BoatLife Live.